Latest football news, engaging debates,
and fascinating opinions.
Pitchside talk on IO Radio. Hello and welcome to Pitchside Talk here on IO Radio. It's back on IO Radio for another week of football action. How are you all doing? I am George, by the way. I forgot to mention my name. That's always a good start. You better mention your name before you go into any intro because people will be going, what are you actually on about? Well, what we've got coming, who we actually got in today's show. Joining me, it is Dan. This intro is just going all wrong, Dan, isn't it? It's spur of the moment.
Maybe it's because my camera's back on. You can actually see my face again. I'm distracting you.
Yeah, maybe that's why. If you don't know, a little running joke on the show is that all the times we've been doing this recording, Dan hasn't had his camera working for about, I want to say, a fair few months now. Maybe 5? Got to be 5 or 4.
Yeah, something like that.
But for some weird reason, we're now hit April, and his camera's now burst back into life. So it's a little bit weird seeing him staring at me. And usually have to stare at this little icon or his photo, but a little bit weird. It's a little bit daunting. Sorry for the people that cannot see that on the radio side. Well, before we get into what's coming up in today's show, I've been mentioned the social medias, Twitter at Pitchside Talk, Instagram Talk_Pitch, YouTube and Mixcloud, both at Pitchside Talk. And also, we have a little additional content for you this week. If you head over to the YouTube, which is Pitchside Talk, you can see me and Dan discussing about Ipswich Town's contract situation in a game of stay or go. Yes, it is a very entertaining video. You better go and check it out because it's worth a watch. I have to say some very interesting opinions from Dan early on in the week. Well, what have we got coming out in today's show? We're going to be talking about Ipswich Town. They had a game versus Wigan. Bit of a bore first, but we'll still talk about it because there's still some interesting things that came out from that game. And also England, they played their first 3 World Cup qualifier games for Qatar 2022 this week, as it is the international break. And we'll be discussing about, does Gareth Southgate know his best side ahead of the Euros, which are only, oh my God, they're only a few months away now. Gosh, blink and they'll be here soon. God, cannot wait for those. But when we come back, we'll be talking about Ipswich Town versus Wigan. Stay up to date with the latest footy news.
Pitchside Talk on IO Radio.
Hello and welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on IO Radio. Fridays at 5 p.m. with me, George, and Dan, as always. Now, before we move on talking about Ipswich Town this week, I better mention the social medias, Twitter at Pitchside Talk, Instagram Talk_Pitch, YouTube and Mixcloud, both at Pitchside Talk. And also we had a additional video go out on our YouTube channel on Pitchside Talk on Tuesday night. It was a game of stay or go with me and Dan. We were talking about the out of contract players at Ipswich Town this season. Highly recommend it. Go and check it out because it is a brilliant insight to who we think will be staying and going at the end of the season for Ipswich Town. But now moving on to Ipswich Town, as a perfect segue, it might be the international break, but Ipswich Town are still playing football. They're still in action in League One. League One does not stop for international breaks, even though players do leave for international break and some clubs play without some players. But if he was under Paul Lambert, he would have asked this game to be pushed back by a week because he would be missing nobody from his squad, but he needs that international break to get his players all fresh and ready. But they were back in action. They went up to Wigan on Saturday, and it was a very lackluster game. It ended 0-0 in a scrappy draw. Dan, not very much really to talk about from this game from an attacking sense, but realistically, another chance goes missing to get back into those playoff places, and they're still only 2 points off them, but it feels like every chance they get here, they're not taking it with 2 hands.
No, they're not, are they? It's so disappointing again. Another game where I thought we went into it favourites and we could have got a result from it. I know Wigan are trying to survive, obviously. They have a manager that knows Paul Cook and the way he plays, but I still think it was a game that we could have gone and got something from. So yeah, it was a really disappointing performance. There was just no attacking sense at all, really. We didn't really do anything. It was just one of them games where we always have a game where we seem to actually want to play attacking football, and then we go back to the old ways of just doing nothing. And I think that's how it was in this game. And I think overall Wigan probably looked the most likely to score. They just don't have that end product either, that they can score, and win 1-0, I guess. But yeah, massively disappointing, really boring game. It was one of them games where you're just sitting there thinking, what am I doing? What am I wasting my time watching this for? But yeah, obviously I think it's put into question the players again, whether they're up for it, whether they want to actually, fight for the playoffs this year, because I think this was a chance to bridge that gap. I know it's only 2 points, but we do sit 11th. Proves how bad this league is. We sit 11th and only 2 points off the playoffs. But yeah, it's looking poor, isn't it? And if we can't beat a team like Wigan, we're coming up against teams around Wigan in the table. So it's quite worrying that we can't really lay a glove on Wigan at all. So yeah, massively disappointing performance and a really disappointing result in a game that we should have really got a result from.
Yeah, this, as you said, that is another missed opportunity. It feels like they get that chance to do it, get across the line, they just fall over or they get to the line. But Paul Cook, he's in a very jokey mood after the game. He joked with the media asking if anybody was still awake during that performance. Even he knows how boring it was. I think that just sort of shows his sense of humor, really, and his honesty about it. But he described Ipswich as a stuttering engine which has gone a bit wrong. Can you agree with that assessment, Town? I guess from this game, yes, but if you compare that to a whole season, that's pretty honest, really, because it's just have struggled to get going. They have been in the playoff fight, but then when they needed to do that crucial moment, they've gone and just bottled it and dropped out. And this was a crucial moment. I know there's still going to be more opportunities coming the way. They're only 2 points off the playoffs, but every little bit here is going to count, because this league is very scrappy, as we've already seen.
It is, yeah, and I think his assessment's probably right. I think we've shown at times that we can be a good side, even under the previous management. I think at times we showed that we could play, but again, I don't know what it is. Is it a confidence issue? Is it? I don't know. Our players can't seem to play 2 games in a row, which is really worrying. And I think Paul Cook knows that. And as we said before, it's refreshing to see that our manager actually sees the problems and wants to fix it, and not just lie to the media and say we're playing well, because that's not the truth at all. So I think Paul Cook's got a massive job till the end of the season. I don't think we're gonna be in this league next season, I think. So I think Paul Cook knows that inside, and knows that he needs to, I guess, freshen the squad up a little bit. Actually, not just a little bit, a lot, I'd say. But yeah, as you said, this league is scrappy, and there's still points to play for, so it's still possible. But if we keep putting performances in like that, we're just not going to be able to get there. So yeah, I think it's going to be a tough ask for Paul Cook to get us playoffs from here. But if you can do it, brilliant. But I'm not expecting much at all, really. I know we've got games against teams below us pretty much until the end of the season. I think we got Charlton maybe in there. That is the most difficult game. That, yeah, it's going to be a tough game, obviously. But we've got games against teams below us, and there's points to play for. So I'm not going to give up all hope just yet. But it's not looking good, is it?
Well, we have to remember every point is a prisoner, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the saying, isn't it?
But it is at the moment, really, if you think, because it's just struggling to pick up points. I think at the moment, Gillingham are 6th place, aren't they?
Because they won yesterday.
Yeah, and at one point, I think they were like 16th when they beat Ipswich Town or something like that. They were not high up the table. It just shows how mad this league is. But before we move on to a big moment that happened in the game here, I just want to draw your attention. So in this game, we had 7 out of contract players playing in this side. In Toto Enciado, Luke Chambers, Stephen Ward, Teddy Bishop, Guion Edwards, Alan Judge, and Freddie Sears. we're talking about a lot of players here that are fighting for their futures here, and this performance that's put in by the side on Saturday, this isn't going to help those guys here fighting for a new contract and for their futures really at other clubs. Because if this is going to be the way they're going to play, and a lot of these people who are out of contract, they're in the attacking sense of that, this isn't going to really help them going forward. And we did the stay and go video, and a lot of these players who actually played, a lot of them you said are going to go. Only two of the people actually, three of them are actually staying. You said in your predictions, four of them actually going on this team sheet here. I won't name who. I don't want to spoil the video, but it's a little bit concerning. That is just a little bit here.
It is, yeah. And you'd think that these players would be put in the performances of their lives to try and get a contract. But yeah, they're not really putting in that type of performance, are they? There doesn't really seem to be much fight in the squad, which is really worrying. We've said all along, and I think everyone knows that a lot of these players are going to be leaving in the summer. So maybe they know that. Maybe that's on their minds a little bit, and they're thinking that they don't really need to put in the effort. But I don't know. Maybe they've already been told. But yeah, it's super disappointing. But the thing is, if these players, are told that they're going to leave, and they want to go to a club higher than us, because we don't look like we're going anywhere from League One. Players like Jackson, he's been linked with teams elsewhere, even in the Championship. I think he was linked with Bournemouth and Huddersfield. But he's not really had a very good season. I know he fell out with Lambert and he didn't really play for a long time, and he's still not really in the squad, is he? I think he started when Norwood was away at Fleetwood, I think. Plymouth. That was that game we actually won, but he still hasn't had a very good season. So I don't think teams like Huddersfield or any Championship team really want to go for him, and there'll be better options elsewhere. So I think the players need to think of that if they know that they're gonna leave, then think what their future's going to be like. And maybe I just think that they need to put in better performances than that if they want to aim higher. So yeah, it's worrying, and I really hope that we can actually get in some good replacements for these players in the summer. Whoever leaves, I said that most of them would leave. I think there was a few that would be stupid to let go. Wilson and Toto as two examples, giving away the video a little bit, but yeah, it, as you said, it is definitely worrying, and time is running out quicker and quicker. And if we keep picking up these results, we're going nowhere.
Yeah, that is true. Well, on to that big moment that happened in the game. Vincent-Young, he started his first game of the season, his first start since Southend back in October 2019. I think 17 months between appearances, absolutely bonkers. But the decision backfired on Paul Cook's face. He went off at halftime, injured. He'd done his hamstring in. We don't know what the extent of it is. We're hoping not too serious for him, really, because he's had so many setbacks quite recently. But Dan, he's got no luck, is he, on this side at the moment? But the one thing is, he was probably the brightest spark out of Ipswich Town's performance in the first half here, really. He got forward quite a lot, but nobody sort of really provided any sort of attacking threat with him. But he looks like, if he's fit on his day, he's going to be such a crucial part of Paul Cook's sort of side going forward, because he likes attacking fullbacks. We do know that. And he is a perfect mould for that. But it's the fitness that is costing him so much here, which is so sad to see.
It is, because he's got such good potential in this squad, and you can see it when he's on the pitch. As you said, he attack down that right hand side in this game, and not really any end product. But I don't think that's really his fault, because we weren't really attacking very well in this game. So he was trying to get forward, and I love a player like that who can get forward with pace. We need fullbacks like that, and I like that Paul Cook is trying to implement that already. But obviously, as we've seen, it was a bit too early for him. I know he didn't have much options, Wolfenden was on the bench and he came on. I think he probably could have started and Chambers started at right back. I know that probably wouldn't have pleased fans having Chambers and Ward at right back, at full back still, but I think you can't risk a player like that, bringing him straight in and starting. You need to do it slowly. And I think Paul Cook just wanted to rush him in because he knew that how good of a player he was. And I think us fans wanted that as well. But yeah, he was rushed in too quickly, and I feel so sorry for him. As soon as he come back, he picked up a was it hamstring? I think so. Yeah. Hopefully it's not too much, but for too long. But hamstring injuries, they can be bad ones, can't they? So let's hope that it's not too bad.
Yes.
I think a fullback is probably what we're going to look for in the summer. That's probably one of the main positions. But if we can, keep Vincent-Young fit going into next season, let's hope he starts. He's in the starting 11 next year, and I think he could do really well if he has a full season. But obviously, fitness is a massive issue for him, and he needs to keep. I think we need to look at him more closely to see how this is happening, and maybe look at our sports science a little bit. At some point.
Well, we do have to remember, was it the one of the sportsmen? He's gone back home, isn't he, for a little bit? He's still part of the club. That was a little bit weird.
I think he was doing them over Zoom, wasn't he?
I don't know.
Fitness calls.
Oh,
ridiculous.
God. Oh no, that's not a good sign. Oh gosh! But as you said that about Luke Wolfenden, why did he not play? Is this something that's a bit of a problem here? Because we know how good of a centre back he was. We saw it last season, but he hasn't played since probably Swindon or something. What's his last game on the top of my head here? Why is he not playing? Is this a thing of you'll come in next season sort of thing here? Really?
Maybe. But I think the main reason why Wolfenden hasn't been started is because Toto and Wilson have been playing so well. Obviously, Wilson's out injured now, but they've been really solid at the back. So I just don't think Wolfenden's had a look in. He came on Saturday, but he came on at right back. So that was an interesting choice from Paul Cook. I was expecting Chambers to go to right back, but I've seen Wolfenden play right back before. Interestingly, I actually saw him play a friendly at my hometown in Felixstowe. He played for the under-23s once at right back, and he was absolutely fantastic. That was against Felixstowe though, so but he can play there, but I don't think he would be a long-term option for right back. He needs to stay centre back. But yeah, it's really odd that he hasn't, I don't know, even had a sub appearance until now, because he'll want first team football. I think he's probably, I'd say, one of our best centre backs. So I think we should try and get him into the starting 11 soon. But maybe he is waiting for next season, see, have a clear out, and then, because I think he signed a new contract in the summer, didn't he? I think it was a 4-year contract. It was quite a long one, so he's still got time here. He's still got a career here. So let's see if he comes into the squad for next year.
Yeah, he's got that 4-year contract, doesn't he? Because that's quite a big contract, that was, because Sheffield United were looking at him. That move didn't go in the end because he signed that 4-year contract. But it has been one win under the Paul Cook era out of his first 6 games. Currently sitting in 11th place, only 2 points off the playoffs, but between 5th and 13th, it's only separated by 5 points here. So it is still definitely on here, the playoffs. But these next 2 games here versus Bristol Rovers on Good Friday and Rochdale on Easter Monday, the Easter sort of weekend here. 2 teams, that are both in the relegation scrap here. Should this be easily 6 points here, or is it more the hope that's going to kill you? Because you expect it just to walk out here with 6 points, and this has got to be a minimum of 6 points here. But is it not going to be what we expect? Because these 2 sides do need every point they can find.
Yeah, you can't be certain with Ipswich, can you? We all expect us to have 6 points, and as you said, that is the minimum. If we don't get 6 points out of these 2 games, then we're not going to be happy. I think, was it Dazelle came into these 3 games saying we need 9 points, and then the first thing you do is draw 0-0 to Wigan. it's that always happens where players, come out and say things like that, and it doesn't happen. But yeah, I think 6 points is a minimum. Playing against the teams at the bottom, these are the games you need to pick up points. Obviously, them teams will be fighting for their lives at the moment, so it's not going to be an easy ride, but it's winnable. They're both winnable, and I think we can go in there and win both games. But on the flip side, it could happen where we don't put in a performance and draw these games, because I don't think it's going to be tight in all the games, because that's what it is in every game in this league. But if we could just sort out that goal threat a little bit, attack a bit more with a bit more purpose as we have been in the last 2 games. I think we've shown a little bit of that with Paul Cook so far, but not really enough. If we can, play against these teams that don't have as much quality, then we'll be fine. But there's still that worry inside all of our heads, I think, that we just won't put in a performance and we'll slip up against these bottom teams, and that's not what we want to do. We want to get points against these teams. We want to chase the playoffs, because if we can't pick up points, then playoffs is going to look further and further away, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the most concerning thing, really. And I think the sides around it, which have played less games than them, that's the most concerning thing, really. Now is you just gotta keep winning your games. Well, as we mentioned, there, Ipswich Town, they are playing on Good Friday, and they are actually at home. I'm sure that it would be full to capacity this game, but unfortunately, it is still not. Sad still really to see an empty Portman Road, but they are playing Bristol Rovers, looking to get back to winning ways. But for Bristol Rovers, they're currently sitting 23rd place, only 2 points off safety. But their last 4 games, they have all lost them. They've lost the last 4 games in a row. Dan, for Ipswich, another chance to get back into the playoffs. They're still on, only 2 points off. But for Bristol Rovers, really here, this for them, they're coming into a game against a side that's struggling a lot against the bottom sort of sides. Only 1 win the last 6. But then there's a chance here to get every point they can get.
Yeah, there is, and Joe Barton's their manager as well, so it's not going to be an easy game. Yeah, I think it's definitely a winnable game. As I said before, Bristol Rovers, they had a good season last year, actually, didn't they? They were quite up there, but they kind of just slipped off and sacked their manager this year, and it's not looking good for them. But I think this is a game that we need to go into it favourites and need to go into it and get a win, because I think every game is a must-win from now until the end of the season. And it started really with the Wigan game, but that didn't happen. But we really need to win this game. Be interesting to see what team he puts out. I'm not expecting much changes to the side. I think it'll be pretty much the same. Obviously, Vincent-Young out because he's injured, but apart from that, I think there won't be much changes. I can't really say that I'm confident, but I'm still going to go into it predicting a win, I think. It's not going to be easy, and it could easily be a 0-0 draw again, but I'm going to go for a 1-0 to Town.
Well, then Dan is going for a 1-0 to Ipswich Town. Very interesting as well. Well, that's everything for the Ipswich Town section this week. And when we come back, I'm going to be talking about England. We've had England this week. Hooray, international football. But 3 World Cup qualifiers, the first for Qatar 2022. And we'll see how they got on.
Pitchside Talk on IO Radio.
Hello and welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on IO Radio's Fridays at 5 p.m. with me, George, and Dan, as always. Now, before we move on talking about England, I better mention the social media. So Twitter at Pitchside Talk, Instagram Talk_Pitch, YouTube it's got both at Pitchside Talk. But if you missed anything from the show, I was talking about Ipswich Town in quite a lot of length about a very boring game. Don't worry. 6 p.m. on Friday on the YouTube and Mixcloud, both at Pitchside Talk. They will be out for you to listen back if you missed anything from today's show. Now, England have been on this week. Club football might have stopped, but international football happened instead. We still have some football this week. Just a little bit of, sleepy football in my eyes. I'm not a big fan of international breaks and qualifiers and friendlies. I don't. I'm like, I'd just rather watch paint dry. Perfect honest, but that's just me. But England have been in action 3 more games, the first of their World Cup qualifier games for Qatar 2022. And well, they played on Thursday, and the first game that ended 5-0 versus San Marino. Apparently, their goalkeeper was very, very good. I don't know. I didn't watch the match. But then they had an away day to
He was
Albania.
very good.
Was he very good? That's good to hear.
Yeah, he was.
They had an away day to Albania on Sunday night, where they got another 3 points there, a 2-0 victory. And then they went back to Wembley on Wednesday and continued their perfect start by getting a 2-1 victory over Poland. Dan, a perfect start here for England. 3 wins out of 3 games for their World Cup qualifiers. So normal service resumed here for Gareth. Oh my God, I can't say his name. Gareth Southgate's side.
Yeah, it was what was expected, isn't it? You know, I never used to like international breaks, but I don't mind them now because Ipswich
Really?
never are involved in them anymore.
Oh, fair enough.
So yeah, normal service resumed. You know, in all 3 of them games, maybe not the second half against Poland, but the rest of it we were kind of in control through most of it. So not really any complaints with any of the performances. The one thing I will say is we need to take our chances. You know, there's so many chances that this England team make. You know, the attacking, we're really good in midfield and attack. The defence, still don't really trust the defence too much, but obviously, as we saw against Poland, John Stones making that absolutely awful mistake. You probably didn't see that, but Poland's goal, John Stones just gave it straight to their striker, and they scored. So, still don't trust the defence too much, but yeah, you can't really complain because we pretty much dominated all of the games, and I think the attacking third of England is very good at the moment, and they showed that in these games. You know, Mason Mount's had a brilliant 3 games. Foden's looked really good. Kane's looked sharp. I think Sterling's looked good. He just needs to improve his final ball. You know, he's had the fullback on in his. You know, he's been absolutely brilliant against the fullbacks in all of these games, but sometimes his final ball, in his pocket. That's it. Well done. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. But yeah, I think his final ball needs to improve a little bit. I think the midfield has been really good. I think Rice had a really good game yesterday. Phillips, I think, has been pretty good as well. I know a lot of people don't really like him, but I think that's because he plays for Leeds. So yeah, I don't really have any complaints about these England results, and normal service resumed. And you know, I think we expect that, don't we? We expect wins in every single qualifying game, but that's not where it counts. The tournament is where it counts.
Yeah, we expect wins all of them. I think, wasn't the last time they won all their World Cup qualified games was the one for 2014, and we all know what happened there next. We don't mention about 2014 World Cup.
Yeah, that's.
I'll be perfectly honest with you. I didn't see the John Stones incident, but I did hear about it. So does that count? Can I? Yeah, can I get away with that? I guess
yeah, because you know about it.
Yeah, I just haven't seen it. I just know what happened. But as you mentioned that in the qualifiers, somebody who impressed very well and put the critics to bed was Mason Mount. Somebody who's always been really questioned in this side. Why is he starting? Is it preferred treatment over Jack Grealish and James Maddison after the last World Cup, the last England meeting, back in November? But these qualifiers here, he has really shown off his quality, and he's now matching those numbers of Maddison and Grealish. But can we now say that he's going to be considered here to be a regular starter now for the 3 Lions? He is for Chelsea. I think you could say for Chelsea, he's their number 1 top player on the team sheet, and possibly will be their captain very soon. We'll have to wait and see for that. But with the Euros coming up in a couple of months, can we say here he's going to be the first player on that team sheet? And it will be deserved. It won't be through treatment and that. He is putting in those numbers, and he is playing very well. He
is, yeah, and I think he's been accused of being Southgate's favourite, hasn't he? That he would just get picked whatever. But I I've never really had a problem with him. I think he's been a fantastic player for England. And he's really good in these last 3 games. And I think he's going to be the first person you see on the team sheet. I'd be very surprised if he doesn't start in every game in the Euros. He's just really exciting to watch. Whenever he gets the ball, he looks forward, tries to pick out a pass, or runs at the defence, and he's really exciting to watch. And I'm not surprised that he's. I think he's started. I can't remember how many games in succession now, but quite a lot. And I think they said on ITV yesterday that he got to 15 England caps quicker than Rooney, Shearer, and someone else as well. I can't remember, but that's a pretty good stat for him. So obviously Gareth Southgate knows that he's a fantastic player, and I think he's definitely proved them critics wrong, and he's definitely he definitely deserves this England start. And he's just exciting to watch, isn't he? And I think there's a whole crop of these players, these attacking midfield players at England that have got really good potential, and it's good to see that we're kind of choosing them type of players to start in games.
Yeah, it's really good to see that those are playing, but there's so many of them. It's hard to pick because I think Grealish and Maddison, they weren't even in the squad this time because of injury, so those two have got to come back in. I think if you got those 4, if you've got Foden, Maddison, Mount, and Grealish there, who are you going to be picking? Because you can't pick all 4. Very interesting. But these qualifier games, we have seen a few fans question Gareth Southgate's side and his style to being too cautious, which has been sort of said about in the past. I think in the Nations League, it was said about it's very cautious playing. The last time they met in November, it was very cautious as well. We didn't even qualify for the Nations League, and it was classified as too cautious, if I remember correctly, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, very odd. But Declan Rice, he's come out and he said differently. He believes that it is a very entertaining side, a very entertaining team to watch. Do you agree with Declan Rice? Or is this just because it's the sort of it's an international friendly? They're not supposed to excite people, and qualifiers are not supposed to excite things. But when it comes to the World Cup and that, will that be where we will see an exciting England side?
I think I can see where he's coming from, because I think in spells England look exciting. I think we have looked quite exciting and shown potential of that in all 3 of these games. But I think in every game there's a lull with England. I think it happens all the time where we just pass it around the back a little bit, get it to the midfield. They look up, don't really see anyone, and then pass it back to the centre backs. And that always happens with England. It's happened for ages, and I think there is spells in games where that happens, but we still manage to stay on top, which I think is the good thing. But I think obviously in a Euros and a World Cup, that's where the biggest test is going to be, and I don't think you can play that cautious game of football against the big teams, because they'll be going at you, won't they? So it's really going to be interesting to see if we stick with this style of play going into the Euros. I expect it will be, but I think we need to work on taking our chances as well, because so many times we've created chances, mostly through Sterling. We've created chances and not really taken them. So I think that's definitely one area to improve, and I think that we should go a little bit more attacking at times in games, especially in the Euros. But I think in these qualifiers, I'm not going to complain about being cautious, because England have won games. We've got all 3 points in all 3 of these games. We looked good in all 3 of them, so I don't think we can really complain. I think it's where it gets important when you go into a tournament.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that. Well, Gareth Southgate, he's now managed 3 more games with his side. Now only a few months now until he names his Euro 2020 side, and also 2 more games before the competition even starts this year. But some tough decisions lie ahead for him. But these last few games, do you think he knows that best lineup here? We were discussing beforehand this lineup he played against Poland. That could be one of his best lineups. I know there's still a few players coming. I think Jadon Sancho, he's missed it through injury. Henderson's not been there. Reece James didn't start. Trent wasn't there as well. So some players still sort of to fill the back in. Also Grealish and Maddison as well to be considered as well. But, fans have questioned he doesn't know his best lineup, but is that one of the best lineups we could possibly expect? It sort of has that. It sort of has that sort of defensiveness about it, but it has that creative spark about it as well. Mount and Phil Foden in there. So, but still, some very tough decisions lie ahead for him. I think, especially with that midfield, is going to be the trickiest point of all.
Yeah, it is. I think the midfield is probably the trickiest area because you've got so many players to choose from. It's unbelievable how many English players there are around that midfield. It's just ridiculous. But I think that squad against Poland, I said it before the game. I think that's probably going to be the squad he starts with in the Euros. They're still friendly, so you could test some things out. But I still think that's probably what. There might be one or two changes going into the first game of the Euros, but I think that's probably what it will be like. Playing four at the back and playing Declan Rice as that holding midfielder in front of the defence, and it works pretty well against Poland. So, yeah, I think he has got a big choice to make. Obviously, with that amount of players that he's got coming through, that amount of potential he's got in that England squad, I think the front three are probably sorted. If Sancho's fit, I think he'll probably come in. Yeah, I just think that midfield is where he's got to make tough choices. But whether he doesn't know his strongest 11, I'm not really sure about that. I think he's got a pretty good idea of what his strongest starting 11 is, and I think it's probably the squad he started against Poland. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see who he starts in that first game and whether it's similar to this game against Poland, because I definitely thought it was like that. But again, I said about these friendlies, but I don't think you can really take that into consideration, really, because I think friendlies are games where you just play as much players as you can for fitness. So, yeah, I don't think it's as tough as people think it is, but he's still got a lot of players to choose from.
Yes, still got a lot of players to choose from, and that is basically everything for the England roundup for that. And we won't have one of those until June, May, maybe. I don't know when he names his side. It's got to be the end of May, isn't it? He names his side.
End of May, I think. Yeah.
So we'll discuss about when that comes up. But that's basically now everything for England. No more international breaks now until the end of the season. Hooray! Club football all the way. We absolutely love it on here. And when we come back, we're just going to have enough time here to do a very quick football roundup.
The best place in Ipswich to hear the latest football debates, Pitchside Talk on IO Radio.
Hello and welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on IO Radio's Fridays at 5 p.m. with me, George, and Dan, as always. Now, I'm not going to mention social media, I'm going to mention them at the end of the show because we haven't got much time here because we've got a quick football roundup to do. Hooray! We love a football roundup. And Dan, I hear you're going first this week.
Yes, so as everyone knows, there was Euro qualifiers yesterday. Obviously, as England played, and there was a shock result in there.
What?
So Germany played North Macedonia yesterday, and they got beat 2-1 by North Macedonia, which is mental. And the last time they'd lost a European qualifier was against England.
Yeah, 5-1. Oh my.
Yeah.
But they lost a game. They don't lose
I know.
games. What are you on about?
I know. Madness, especially to North Macedonia as well.
Have North Macedonia ever done anything higher than that? Because that's got to be a trophy in itself, being Germany.
Yeah, they did make the Euros this year, didn't they? So that's an achievement. But
really?
Yeah, yes, they did. They're in the Euros. But yeah, I just realised I said Euro qualifier. I meant World Cup.
We understand what you meant. They're all the same. They're just international games. Nobody knows what was what. Well, the last time you said that they got beat England, but they did actually qualify for World Cup and they did get all the way to the final. So I guess that means Qatar final, Germany going to be there straight away.
Yeah, maybe.
We already know. Well, I've got some news for you. We've got a very high-profile player leaving the club at the end of the season. It is Sergio Aguero. He is going to be leaving Man City. He's not going to be renewing his contract. He's been told he isn't going to get a renewal, despite being, I think, at the club for 10 seasons, I want to say. Joined in 2011, their top goal scorer, the record top goal scorer. 257 goals in 348 appearances for Manchester City, but it's now rumoured that Eric Haaland and Harry Kane are the front runners to replace him. I think Haaland is the front runner, but Kane is sort of been shortlisted, been looked at, but still a big shoes to fill there. Well, it looks like they don't want Jesus to fill them, which is kind of ironic. But yeah, that is basically everything this week for Football Roundup. And we've made it to the end of the show. A little bit of a short show this week, but I hope you have enjoyed it. And I hope you all have a good Easter and that. Dan, thank you very much for joining me this week. Will you be joining me next week? Well, we'll actually be, we'll have Ipswich Town. I feel like we're gonna have 2 Ipswich Town games to talk about. Oh my god!
Yeah.
Bonkers.
Back to 2 games.
Back to 2 games. Absolutely bonkers. Premier League and whatever else is happening next week. So what we've got coming after us, we've got the Gatwick Show 6 till 7, the Rubus Show 7 to 9, and Flip Switch 9 until 10. And the social media, Twitter at Pitch Talk, Instagram Talk_Pitch, YouTube and Mixcloud, both at Pitch Talk. If you want to know about anything in this show, don't worry, it'll be up in a few minutes on the YouTube. And also, we do have a special video for you, which is a stay or go game for the Ipswich Town contract situations. Better worth that. It's a very good watch, I have to say myself. So I've been George. We'll see you next week, and ciao.
Yeah.
The whistle has been blown for full time. Tune in next week for another jam-packed show.